Welcome back to Kung Fail. I'm Larson Halleck, certified personal trainer, and we've had a lot of fun talking about ki blasts and psychic powers and goofy dance moves masquerading as traditional martial arts, and we will continue to do so in the future. But don't you think for a second that I'm a tap-out, shirt-wearing, creatine-chugging dude bro who thinks MMA is God's gift to physical culture. While I do enjoy the sport, and secretly wish we could go back to 90s rules, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that there's probably just as much fraud in mixed martial arts as there is in traditional martial arts. Seeing as MMA is kind of based around stripping the pomp and pageantry off of combat sports, you won't see too much in the way of magical powers and things like that in MMA fraud. Rather, it's comparatively mundane false claims of training with famous trainers or winning non-existent championships. But ladies and gents, and yes, 4% of my viewers are women. Just because MMA fraud is less fantastical than TMA fraud, don't think that there's less potential for hilarity, because in some ways, there's more. Take, for example, the infamous Rafael Torre, who was in fact a white man named Ralph Bartle, who Bavarian fire drilled his way into a respectable career as an MMA columnist, up until he murdered a man with his bare hands at the urging of that man's wife, with whom Raphael was having an affair with. They met during a group sex session, and then he was immediately caught driving the guy's car around town and is currently serving life in prison. It's a darkly hilarious story, which I will not be profiling on this channel. Why? Because somebody already did. The Pink Man, who does videos kinda similar to my own martial arts videos. He did a very well-researched video on Mr. Tori. I would recommend checking it out. There's a link to it in the video description. And frankly, there's nothing I can say about Rafael Tori that he did not already say. So instead, let's talk about another mixed martial arts fraud. A scrappy young fellow desperate to make it into the UFC, even if he had to lose 17 and counting professional fights, and a man who would never dare stoop to the base act of murder. No, his felony was child molestation. Scotty Lionheart Blevins. Parenthetically, this is not the same Scott Blevins who is an award-winning dance choreographer. Or is it? No, it's not. Looking at young Mr. Blevins, you would probably imagine that he doesn't have the fighting ability of a lion, or a King of England, or even an early 90s Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. And you'd be right. Tiny and scrawny, even by the standards of a 5'6" bantamweight, he made up for it with heart. He was, after all, a black belt karateka with multiple state and national championships, and he had studied under Henzin and Hockey Gracie, and somewhere along the lines mastered the art of Maui Thai. Not Muay Thai, mind you, Maui Thai. Indeed, let us watch his Maui Thai mastery.
I am a two-time weapon champion, and it doesn't matter if it's nunchucks, kamas, any kind of form. And yes, I am a brown belt, and I'm a 4-time region karate champion as well. So much as weapons, it's all forms, buddy.
Now, I've never trained with kamas. It looks okay, I suppose. Now let's watch the nunchaku video.
Called me out on Facebook about some nunchucks, so called me out on Facebook about some nunchucks.
Ah, that explains his mysterious martial arts background. He studied Rex Kwon Do alongside Napoleon and Kip. Anyway, these videos were part of his early adoption of social media, YouTube and MySpace, using the sites to demand that Dana White put him in the UFC.
Indiana's rooting, the UFC underdog, Scott Lionheart Blevins. I wish to address myself and relate to Zachary Bryce Jenkins. This is a call out, Zach, for a rematch. In 2007 at LFC, there was a setup fight. I was paid off to throw that $1 million punch. As everybody knows, I hit you with the tip of my glove. And in relate to this, I wanted discreet to, yes, I was on the fast track to the UFC. LFC knew about it. Scott C. McCorkle did know about it, and relate to Dana White did contact McCorkle.
But it was not to be. That didn't stop him from claiming the UFC signed him to its men's bantamweight division before it actually existed. Until the UFC actually invented the men's 135-pound division, Scott had to content himself with tearing up the amateur and semi-pro leagues. Well, I mean, I think you should already be convinced of this guy's martial arts magnificence, so let's watch a few of his fights. You notice how short this video is? Yeah, spoilers, this is not going to take very long. Shortly after his 9th consecutive loss, he got busted for child molestation. He claims that corrupt cops framed him because, Then for reasons I don't know, he served his time, he was let out, and he made a new YouTube channel, The Bipolar Rock'n'Rolla, which really would explain a few things. And that's where he is today, still in bumfuck Indiana, trying to set things up with a band apparently. And I don't think he fights professionally anymore, as if he ever did. Was that a bit short? What else can I say about the man, the myth, Scott Blevins? Seek help for your mental illness, and please stay away from high schools. I'm Larson Halleck, keep on training, and don't do meth, kids.
The man is expert. He told me, Scott Blevins told me, he is in fact an expert in Jeet Kune Do, Taekwondo, Maui Thai, not to be confused with Muay Thai, and also Rinzin and Rocky Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which he learned at the main Gracie Academy in Virginia.